Hey everyone, it's Greg here, and in this video I just want to discuss kind of the history of URL and anchor text kind of optimization, because those are the two really main things that I focus on besides where I'm getting my links. We all know how to get PBN links from the training. But the two main things that I focus on, URL and anchor text, have always been my go-to as to looking at my data to what's going on with URL and anchor text as far as optimization goes. And every update that comes along, when I track URL and anchor text optimization, that always seems to be where these updates land in the end. Whether it's Panda, Penguin, whatever, it always seems to be something with optimization. And me focusing on that has allowed me to rank for pretty much whatever I want for the most part. Because I believe that that's 90% of SEO, whereas a lot of SEOs will focus on, well, Panda 4.1 hit ads above the fold, or like I don't even pay attention to what each update hits and what they say it's about, because when I look at my data, I just compare the URL and anchor text correlations and see what's going on with that. So I'm just telling you, it's so important to understand URL and anchor text combinations and what's working right now with URL and anchor text, that it's really important you get a history of it to kind of show you the evolution that Google has come up with as far as the combination between the two. So it'll give you a better understanding of what's working now and why it's working, and how we got there. So a few years ago, you could basically get an EMD, which is an exact match domain, which would be your keyword as your domain name, and then you could have you could fire off thousands of links at it, spammy type links, have 90% of those links be your exact match keyword, and rank number one. That's how you ranked a few years ago. So if we had something like DelawareSEO.org, and I own this domain. This domain has like 2 links to it. If you go type in Delaware SEO, we're number one, number two, then our video number 3. Again, just with 1 or 2 links. Now, I can show you the anchor text probably in the next video that I use for that. And I'll give plenty of real examples that I've used, and also hypothetical based off real examples. Actually, they won't even be hypothetical. I'll just have to change domain names so you don't know the actual sites. There's some sites I don't want to reveal. All right, so let's go back here. So if you had DelawareSEO.org, a few years ago, let's say you just did a whole bunch of spammy type links, whether you're using XRumor or GSA or SE Nuke, those types of tools, and you just send thousands of links, and 90% of them equal Delaware SEO, then a few years ago this would get you ranking number one, because it was more about they were saying, the more links you have that say this, that must mean that that's what your site's about. Well, as SEO got more popular, they started seeing more and more people take advantage of this, so they started changing a little bit. Okay, so maybe over the next year or so, this number dipped down to 60%. So what worked as 90% a few years ago, a year later, you would get hit with over optimization penalties, and only 60% would work now. Okay, and that was maybe, I don't know, 2-3 years ago. I don't know the exact time frame, but this is kind of the evolution. So then the EMD update came, and this number dropped again. Okay, and this is for the most part. It does depend how many searches the keyword gets and how many links you have and how many credible links. But for the most part, this rule will generally apply to most sites you have. Okay, unless you're a site like like BestBuy.com, where you just have tons and tons of great authority links, then that number can go up. Okay, and also if you're a well-established brand, that number can go up. But when you have a new site like most of us are going to be doing, these are the general rules that I'm talking about. Okay. So then the EMD update came, and this number dropped down again, probably somewhere around 30%, something like that. And of course, it also depends how many links you have and how authoritative those links are. I'm just giving a general number to show you the evolution. Okay. And that was, I don't know, was the EMD update a couple years ago, something like that, year and a half ago. And then we started seeing with, believe it was a Penguin update. Again, I don't track the exact updates and what they're about. I'm more just, when an update comes, I'll look at my data and see what happened with my data, opposed to what they say the updates are about. So after that, we started actually getting inner URLs targeted. Okay, so where you could have like gregssite.com/Delaware SEO before the EMD update. It was like the update after the EMD update, so a couple years ago, you can still get away with a higher percentage for this. Now, after this update, they started targeting inner URLs. Okay, so not just the domain name, but also inner URLs, your keyword as the page name. And this is getting even more aggressive over the last year or so. They're getting more aggressive over this, where if you have an inner URL as the keyword, it's like getting treated as an EMD was a couple years ago. Does that make sense? Because they know that SEOs are targeting this, and they're just evolving their algorithm to go after this type of stuff. Okay, so we started where you could have an EMD and hit it with tons of exact match anchor text, like 90% in rank. That moved down to 60%, then it moved down to 30%, and then they started targeting inner URLs. Okay, so maybe you could get away with like 50% for inner URLs, and then it went down to like 25%. Now it's down to like 10% range. So they keep going more and more after over optimization, where they know what SEOs are doing, and they're catching on to the latest tricks, and they just evolve. Okay, so it's important that you understand that, because again, URL and anchor text combinations are 90% plus of SEO. It's the main thing I track, and I still rank for pretty much whatever I want. Okay, all right, so now that you have a history of kind of this optimization, in the next video, what I want to start talking about is some different rules to consider when you're doing your anchor text and URLs, and then I'll do a video after that where we'll go ahead into real examples. Okay, and we'll start doing examples of real sites, real anchor text I used with URL combinations, and I'll also give examples based on real sites, but I'm just going to change the URLs and give the same anchor text, just so I don't reveal the site. So you get plenty of real examples. Even if it's not a real site, I will give you a couple of real site examples as well. But we got plenty of stuff coming. Again, next video I'm going to just talk about a few things to consider as far as like a few rules that I've noticed, and then we'll go into the real examples from there. Hope you enjoyed this video. See you in the next one. Alright everyone, Greg here again. We went through the history of anchor text and URL and how they've evolved the anchor text and URL optimization. Now I want to go into some things to consider and some general stuff that I noticed, because it will help you get a better understanding even more of what's working now. And I'm going to start going into actually some live examples here, and then we'll get into total examples in the next video. Okay, so one thing you have to consider is, I talked about like percentages in the last video, I kind of gave guesses of what they were allowing. 4 years ago they were allowing about 90% for EMDs. Of course, those numbers aren't exact, but they're pretty close guesses to what they like for like a medium competition site of what they would allow. Okay, now here's something to consider: the length of the domain name and the amount of searches the keyword gets makes a difference to how much anchor text you can use with that keyword. Okay, so it makes a difference to how much optimization you can get away with. Let me give you an example here. So if you had an EMD, ways to lose weight for women over 40.com, okay, that's how many words? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 words. Well, 7 words and one number. And then money.com. These are two totally different sites, because this money gets a ton of searches, probably gets like 1 million searches a month, something like that, whereas this might get a few searches a month. Okay, and it's also very long. This opposed to this it's very different. So the anchor text that you can get away with for these two sites is totally different. The reason for that is, well, first let's say we have each of these sites has 100 links. Okay, so 100 links, and each has 50% EMD keyword. Okay, so that means this site has 100 links, and 50 of those links say ways to lose weight for women over 40. All right, whereas, well, let's actually say like 30%. So 30 out of the 100 links say ways to lose weight for women over 40. For the money.com site, 30 of the 100 links say money. All right. Now, what's going to happen is this site right here is almost definitely going to receive a penalty. Why? Because the chances of 30 out of 100 people having that exact anchor text being this long uh, is very, very slim, because not that many people search for that, and it's not a big keyword. So the chances of that happening are slim to none. And Google considers this, and they would slap you. You would get penalized. Whereas if 30 out of your 100 keywords for this site were money, you might not get penalized for that, because money is such a huge keyword. The chances of that happening are much greater, because money is such a largely searched keyword that 30 out of 100 people saying just money, opposed to the exact phrase ways to lose weight for women over 40, is this happening is so much greater than the chances of this happening, that you might not get penalized for this one, because it's such a huge keyword. So when one of these, this is the general type rules I'm talking about. This is one of those things you have to consider: is how big is the keyword, and the bigger the keyword, or the shorter like if it's a short domain name with a big keyword, or if it's a long domain name with a bunch of keywords, this is much more likely. This is much more likely to get hit with over optimization. This is much less likely to get hit. Okay, so for like EMDs, you have to consider that when you're doing your anchor text. How big is this keyword? How likely would it be being used this many times? And that's something that you have to consider. Okay, so it's very important. So not a lot of people know that, but it makes sense, and that's what I've seen with a lot of my sites. Is sites that I used to have like this, they got totally smashed because of the way that I did my anchor text. Whereas the ones I didn't have any sites that were like this, obviously, but sites that were closer to this with the same anchor text ratios as this site did not get hit, because it contains a keyword that's much bigger and is much more likely to get used, 10% of the time or 20% of the time. Even if you use this keyword like 10 out of 100 links, you're going to get smacked, because it's such a long keyword. The chances of 10 out of 100 people using that exact phrase are still slim to none. So consider how long your domain name is and how likely the keyword in your EMD is likely to get hit. And even though this is for EMDs, I want you to just understand that this is how Google works. This is kind of the way they look at things. How likely is it that someone will use this exact phrase 30 out of 100 links? Slim to none. We're going to slap them, because that will probably never happen, naturally, and they're looking for natural. All right, so it's very important to understand. And that also carries over to inner URLs. Now, when the keyword is in the domain name, it's more likely to get hit with over optimization than it is for an inner URL. But the same rules go for an inner URL, just with not as strict over optimization penalties. Okay, so you can get away with a little more for an inner URL than you can if it's your actual domain name. If it's in your domain name, it's more strict. Okay, because the domain name is more powerful than the inner URL. So if you had like let's say we had just to make sure you know what I'm talking about here, like gregsite.com again, and then we had slash ways to lose weight for women over 40. This is a more powerful site. It's more powerful to have your keywords in the domain name. I would never recommend having an EMD this long, by the way, or any domain name this long. Just there's no point in it. But the point is, the keywords in the domain name is more powerful than the keywords in the inner URL. But at the same time, the keywords in the domain name get more strict over optimization rules than the inner URL. Okay, so this is more powerful, but you have to be more careful. Whereas this is a little less powerful, but you don't have to be as careful. You still have to be careful, but not as careful. Okay, so those are a couple rules. Let's keep moving on here. URL plus anchor equals your overall optimization. Okay, for the most part, it's like 90-95%. They consider title and how many times your keywords are in your content and all that stuff. But the main optimization factor is URL plus anchor text. Okay, and I'm going to give an example here. So for DelawareSEO.org, now this is an older site, and I wouldn't do this anymore. There's a page called Delaware SEO Expert. Okay, and as we saw when I searched for this, Delaware SEO Expert is actually the second result, because I have a link going here. Okay, let's go back here. Again, I would never actually repeat Delaware SEO in an URL once it's already in the domain name anymore. The reason that I got away with this is because there's only one link onto this page, and I believe the link was like experts as the anchor text. Okay, so since URL and anchor text equals optimization, there wasn't enough combination there for an over optimization penalty. Okay, so what I mean by that, the actual example for this site was something like it was a much larger searched, location SEO phrase. For example, let's say like Houston is a huge city, so let's say it was like HoustonSEO.org. All right, so if I had HoustonSEO.org and then Houston SEO expert, in order to rank this page right here, I'm going to need at least 5 links, I would say, okay, for Houston SEO, because it's a much larger city, so it's a lot more competition. So I'm going to have to put in anchor text in there that's like, Houston SEO, Houston SEO expert, SEO expert in Houston. And the more links that I have coming in, the more anchor text with Houston SEO in it, it makes a greater combination of Houston SEO in the domain name, in the inner URL, plus in the anchor text, whereas I'm going to get hit. Okay? So there's a real site that I own that's more competitive, like Houston SEO. Let's actually change this to Houston, so you get a better idea. Okay, so we had a page on the HoustonSEO.org website. Again, not a real website, but not our website, but the competition is pretty much exact to our real site. Okay, so we had a page called Houston Web Design. All right, and the links going to that page, I probably had 5 links going to the page or so, and it was like, Houston Web Design, Houston Website Design, Web Design in Houston, Houston TX Web Design, stuff like that. And there's about 5 links. So when Google looked at this, they combined, what's in the URL and then what's in the anchor text, and they had an overall score of that's over optimized, penalized, the site moved down. Okay? I saw this with my data, and what I did was I did a 301 redirect, and I just renamed this page to just web design. So instead of repeating Houston again in the domain, which is already in the domain name, I took it out of the inner URL, just renamed it web design, and then when I did the redirect and they looked at it again, the overall score dropped in the optimization because Houston was no longer in here twice. That was really hurting my over optimization. Okay, whereas in this one I can get away with it because I only have one link, right? So they're combined. They can't really determine over optimization off one link because the chances of someone sending us a link with just expert, even if I did Delaware SEO expert, I probably would have got away with it because it's just one link. They can't really determine over optimization off that. Whereas in this example, I have Houston twice in the URL, and then I have Houston in every single anchor text. They're saying, okay, that's just too much. We're penalizing them. And I kind of saw this with my data. So what I did again, I 301 this page over to this page, and that when they reevaluated it, since Houston's only in here once now, they're saying, okay, that's possible. This is not over optimized, and my rankings rose right back up. Okay, so what I'm trying to have you get out of this is that URL and anchor text combine for your overall optimization score. Okay, and that's very important to understand. So when you have a site like when you have your keywords in your domain name, try not to repeat them in the inner URLs. Okay, there's certain circumstances where you can, and let's do an example here. So if I have like themoneymasters.com or something like that, okay, and then I want to do a page on like how to make money online. This is okay to we had the money in the domain name, but it's okay to repeat it in here because again, it's such a big keyword and it just makes sense to repeat it. Now you could use like cash here, but I don't think that sounds right, and I think money is more natural. But it's okay to repeat this one because it's such a big keyword and it's only one of the keywords you're repeating. Okay. Whereas if you're doing like, let's say we got gold, or let's see, let's say like if you had like how to make money online.com, and then you want to do a page like on like how to make money with blogging, you just want to name this blogging. Okay, what you do not want to do is how to make money online.com slash how to make money online with blogging. That is unnecessary to do because people already know your site is about how to make money online. Okay, so all you got to really do is, so your site's already about making money online, so you just do each topic here. All right, you do not want to repeat how to make money online in this example because this is such a long kind of topic. Repeating that twice is really going to hurt you. Now, so here's another good kind of demonstration as to how anchor text and URL optimization works, like the combination of the two. If you do it this way, you can use your keywords in your anchor text a whole lot more than you could if you did this way. Okay, this way won't like get you penalized right away, but what it does is it sets you up for failure because it allows you very little wiggle room to use how to make money online in your anchor text. Okay, and hopefully that kicks in because anchor text is very powerful for increasing your ranks, as all of us know. So if we can't have how to make money online in our anchor text that much, it's going to be very hard for us to rank. You know, URLs of course help us rank and it helps identify what it's about, but the anchor text is like the kind of like the main push in the end. So if we use this version, then we have a lot more wiggle room to use how to make money online in our anchor text because we don't have it twice in our URL. Where if we have it twice here, especially a keyword this long, we have very, very little wiggle room. Okay, so again, these are kind of some general things that I wanted to discuss. You know, how big your keyword is as your EMD or your inner page matters to how much anchor text you can get away with. You know, and just kind of think about that when you're doing your anchor text and figuring which anchors you're going to use. I'm going to go over specific anchor text and examples in the next video so you'll get a better idea. But just know that how long the keyword is matters and how many people search for it matters as to what percentage you can get away with. Okay. The next thing is I would not repeat most keywords on the inner URL. So even though this site's ranking, remember that it's ranking because there's only one link onto that page with the keyword. I think I did like expert or something like that. Whereas if this site was more competitive, like the Houston SEO one, and then I did Houston SEO expert, and then I would need more links to do that because it's more competitive, and I would have to have Houston SEO in it to help identify it more, and I would end up getting over optimization. Okay. So, you know, as in this example here, just repeat the topic because people already know this site's about Houston. You know, it's Houston SEO, so it's going to be all about Houston SEO. If we have a page on web design, just name it web design. Do not repeat Houston there again because that's going to give you very little wiggle room for what you can use as far as keywords in your anchor text. All right. And then, of course, you can repeat keywords on the inner URL, but just be careful how you do it. You know, in this example, money is such a big keyword, and that it's fine to do here because we're not really repeating any of these other words here, and money's such a big keyword, and this is also long, that it's okay to use it again. So there is certain cases like that where it's okay to repeat keywords, but for the most part, be very careful of it. Okay, you know, this example here, when you have a keyword like this long as your domain name, like an EMD, I would never repeat something that long on the inner URL. And if you're doing about how to make money online blogging, just /blogging. Because again, very little wiggle room here compared to here as far as anchor text. And you'll start seeing exactly how I do my anchor text in the next video, and this will start making even more sense. So these videos are kind of like a progression, you know, a basic history. And then in this video, I'm giving you general rules to follow and making sure you understand that URL plus anchor text equals your optimization score. All right, that's very important. Again, URL plus anchor text equals your optimization score. I should put score here. Very, very important to understand. All right. So again, in the next video, we will start talking about real examples, you know, real sites, and examples based off real sites. I'll just change the site name, and that will give you a very good understanding of everything, and this will all start coming together if it's not already. Hope you enjoyed this video. See you in the next one. Alright everyone, Greg here again, and in this video we are going to start going to real examples here. I'm going to give you a little bonus and show you how I set up my data to track URL and anchor text, which you see in front of you now, and I'll go into that in a minute. But, the first video we went into the history. The second video we started getting to a little bit of examples with some general rules that you should be aware of, kind of help you get a better understanding of how URL and anchor text works. And this video we're going to, put the icing on the cake, give you plain real examples right here. I'm also going to let you know, what I would do if this domain name was a little different, the different approaches I would take. Then I'll also give you an example based off a real site, and how I would do it differently if it was like an EMD, something like that. So I think you all are going to really get a lot out of this video, and by the end of this, you should have a great understanding of anchor text and URL combinations, and how to know which anchor text to use compared to what your domain name is or what the URL is and all that. Okay. So when I set up my data, whenever I do my links for my PBN, I always record the data. Okay, so I'll put down the target URL, the anchor text I used, the date I did the link, the PBN that I did the link from, the position of the keyword before the link, so I can see what the movement was, the keyword I'm targeting, and then notes. All right. So the only thing that might not be clear is keyword. If the anchor text I use is different than the keyword I'm targeting, then I'll put, the keyword I'm targeting here. So for example, if I was trying to track, what this did for Nashville eyelash extensions, not eyelash extensions in Nashville, then I would put Nashville eyelash extensions here, okay? But if I'm tracking the same keyword I'm using as anchor text, I'll just use this blank. I'll just leave that blank. All right, so that's the one thing you may not understand. And of course, I've left these blank on purpose because, well, I left these blank on purpose because I don't want people to see my PBNs. This wasn't really too important, these other things. The main data I want to show you is right here, okay? I sent 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 links for the main keywords for the site, and then they ended up wanting another city, so I ended up sending this one, and I'll cover that, by itself in just a minute. But let's first cover these first 5, and I actually probably didn't need this last one. I just kind of wanted to do it for like the icing on the cake to make sure we kept, our #1 rankings for a while. So I actually really only needed the 4, but 5 did it. And by the way, this is a case where the woman who owns this site, she went from, I believe, being a babysitter to quitting that job and doing this full time. This was just like a little side business. Now she gets so much business that she actually quit that and does this full time. She doesn't even have her own shop yet. I believe she's working on it. But it's crazy that 4 links can totally change someone's life like that. Well, 5. It was really 5 links. We'll say 5 links. 6 total if you include this other city. So it's crazy that 6 links can just totally change someone's life by increasing their business that much. 6 links, And the reason that 6 links was able to do this is because, 1, we know how to find good links because of the PBNs. And then 2, we know how to use the correct anchor text depending on what the URL is, what the domain name is. And that's what happened here. We gave Google what they wanted. We gave them quality links with the correct combination of URL and anchor text, okay? And that's why this is so important to understand as far as combining URL and anchor text to make the correct optimization choices. All right, so the main keywords that we were going after for this site was like Nashville eyelash extensions, which were #1 for. Eyelash extensions Nashville, which were #1 for, and then of course all of the different keywords like Nashville TN eyelash extensions, Nashville lash extensions, eyelash extensions in Nashville, eyelash extensions in Nashville TN, all those variations. Okay, so let's go back to this spreadsheet and take a look at my anchor text here. All right, so I did eyelash extensions in Nashville, Nashville eyelash extensions, Nashville TN eyelash extensions, lash extensions in Nashville, extensions for eyelash extensions in Nashville, and then this last one's for a different keyword, Franklin TN eyelash extensions. Now, someone might look at this and say, you used all keyword anchor text? Yeah, because guess what? The keyword wasn't really in the domain name, so this is the type of stuff we can do when we have a domain name like this. And when I saw this client site, I particularly liked it because they have lash in here, but nothing else. And lash is something that kind of helps identify this site about being about eyelashes because it's known as a synonym for eyelashes. But at the same time, it's not really going to affect our maybe a very little bit. Like if I kept this trend up like for like 20 links, it would probably affect us. But I knew that this wasn't going to take more than 10 links to rank, so I'd be okay. I'd be within that optimization bubble where I'm fine to use all keyword optimized anchor text. And if I got to the 10 link mark and I still wasn't ranked where I want, I'd throw in some links that were like URL, and then maybe some more generic anchor text to kind of throw down the optimization, whereas then I could hit those keyword anchor texts again and kind of level it out. All right. So, and if we go and look at this eyelash extensions in Nashville, notice how lash is bolded. Again, that's what I was talking about. Lash is known for a synonym for eyelashes. So I really like when I saw this domain name because it had like a little identifier in the domain which helps identify this site's about eyelash, but at the same time it's not going to kill our over optimization. Okay, if this site said Nashville eyelash extensions.com, I would not use the same anchor text. I would not have used all this. I would have had to be much more careful, and I'll go into that in just a little bit. But let's cover what I did here. I started with eyelash extensions in Nashville. And I could have started with any of these because, again, the keywords aren't really in the domain name. We just have very little identifier in there. So I could have really done these in any order. But what I did was I just did our main keyword with variations of it. Okay? And also what I did, a little trick, is I added in TN because we also wanted to rank for this version of TN. And Google combines all this. They say, eyelash extensions in Nashville and Nashville eyelash extensions. They see this TN and say, okay, this site's also about, we can also rank this for TN related keywords because they have that in the anchor text. And really, I could have done Tennessee as well. I could have done like, eyelash extensions for eyelash extensions in Nashville, Tennessee, and that would probably help me rank better for the Tennessee keywords. But we might already be ranking for that because TN is a synonym of Tennessee. Let's see. All right, so yes, we're still number one for that because again, TN is a synonym for Tennessee, so I didn't even need it. Let's see if we rank for Nashville, Tennessee eyelash extensions. And we're also number one for that as well, so I actually didn't need to do that. But if we were behind on like the keywords with Tennessee in it, what I would do is I probably would have done one of these links, or I would just do another link with Tennessee in there, something like Nashville, Tennessee eyelash extensions. All right, but this is pretty basic of how I do my anchor text when we don't have to worry about optimization too much because of the domain name or the inner URL. Okay, if this was like southernlashlounge.com/Nashville eyelash extensions as the inner URL and we were targeting that page, again, I wouldn't have been able to do this because of that identifier on the inner URL. That combination would have been too much between the URL and anchor text. But again, since the keywords aren't really in the domain, we just have a general identifier, we can get away with this. All right. Now, if this site was, let's go to an example here. If it was like Nashville eyelash extensions.com, I would not have been able to use that same anchor text. I would have probably done something like this if that was if this was the client's domain name. I would have done the anchor text much differently. I probably would have started it off with something like a URL link, okay, just to kind of put that safety layer in place, let Google know, or kind of give them a better idea that we're not trying to game you. We're not trying to do keyword optimized anchor text. And kind of like game the algorithm. Okay, so in a case like this, it's 3 words, and these 3 words don't get searched like a ton of times. So starting off right away with something like Nashville eyelash extensions would be a little dangerous. You could probably get away with it, but I kind of want to put that safety layer in here and just do like a URL type link, or I could have done like a longer anchor text link with the keywords kind of mixed in to start. But a URL link with an EMD like this long is a good place to start. Okay, and then next I probably would have went with a longer anchor text with some of the keywords in it. Okay, so maybe something like find eyelash extension services near Nashville. Okay, something like that, where we have our keywords in here, but it's a longer anchor text and there's other keywords involved. Okay, and I also don't have Nashville eyelash extensions all in a row. It's more like the opposite, like eyelash extensions Nashville. Okay, so after that, I would probably see where the site moved, and I would move a little closer towards our keyword, and maybe do something like maybe let's say, I don't know this niche too well, so let's say like shops for eyelash extensions in Nashville. Okay, so I'm moving a little closer where the anchor text isn't as long. There's only 3 words in addition to our, well, you could say 2 because in is kind of one, like eyelash extensions in Nashville is kind of one of our keywords. So you could actually say 2 keywords instead of 2 additional keywords with our targeted keyword. And this one had 1, 2, 3. Okay, so we're kind of moving more towards our keyword, but we're also staying away from over optimization. All right, now again, I would see where it moved, and then from there, I would probably move a little closer. Maybe do something like you could probably do something like Nashville TN lash extensions. You could do that because remember we saw that lash is actually a synonym for eyelash. So here what we're doing is we're moving closer towards the keyword, and we only have one additional word in there, TN, which we also want to rank for TN, so that's going to help us a lot. And then we have a synonym for eyelash instead of actually using eyelash. Okay, so as you see, we're moving a little closer and a little closer and a little closer towards our money keywords. And what this is doing is it's going to still help us rank for these types of keywords, Nashville eyelash extensions in Nashville, but we're staying away from over optimization because we're not using those exact anchor text or exact keywords as the anchor text. All right. And then I would probably see where it moved, and depending on the movement, I might put in something more general again, like maybe I'll do this Nashville website. It depends on how the site's moving, but I might throw something like that if I feel like the site didn't move up enough. Because from here it should be on the first couple pages. If it's still back on like 5, 6, I'm gonna think, are they thinking I'm over? If enough time has gone by, because remember there's a ranking delay in effect now. If it's been like a couple months and I'm still back on like page 5, 6 or beyond, I might throw in something like this just to make sure I'm not over optimized. And then from there I'll start going to more of my optimized keywords. Like maybe I'll do eyelash extensions in Nashville. Okay. And again, that's kind of like our main keyword, like our domain name, but the keyword's reversed. Eyelash extensions in Nashville. So it's not like our main keyword yet. All right. And I can actually tell you that if we use this anchor text for this domain name, we would likely be ranked very well after a couple months. Probably even on the first page. And then by this time we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 anchor texts that aren't our main keyword yet. So at this time we'd be safe to use our main keyword, Nashville eyelash extensions. And our main keyword is only 1 out of 7. Our EMD keyword, I should say, is only 1 out of 7 links. So we wouldn't get hit with over optimization. And right now this anchor text get up for this EMD would work very well. Okay, you'd probably be ranked top of the first page after all these links kick in. But as you can see, the anchor text I use for this site is very much different than the anchor text I use for this site, because this site doesn't have the keywords in the domain name, so we can treat it much differently. Remember, optimization is a combination of mostly your URL plus your anchor text. And since we don't have the keywords in the domain name here in our URL, we can get away with a lot more of it in our anchor text. Whereas in this example, we have our keywords in our domain name, so we can get away with a lot less in our anchor text. So we got to kind of be safe at first and work our way towards it. All right, it's very important to understand that, because it works very well when you do this. And either of these examples work. It's hard to say which one would outrank which. In this one versus this one over here, which one would outrank the other. It's hard to say because EMDs can be very powerful when you do the correct anchor text and you stay away from over optimization. But at the same time, anchor text is so powerful when you have so much keyword optimized anchor text mixed with a domain name like this, which has like a little identifier in it. That's also powerful. So these two sites would be very close in rankings, and that's how I set up my sites. It depends on what keywords are in the domain name or in the URL. The more keyword optimized the URL is, the less you can do with your anchor text, and vice versa. All right. So this is a real life example mixed with a kind of like a hypothetical example to help you understand what I do with my anchor text when keywords are in the domain or not in the domain or a little bit in the domain or whatever the case. You're going to use totally different anchor text with an EMD compared to a site like Southern Lash Lounge, which you barely have a keyword in there. You have lash in there, which again is just a little identifier, so that's not going to push you towards over optimization very much at all. It just kind of helps identify the site. Whereas this, you have to be very careful. It's 3 words, which is like that borderline mark of where you have to be very careful. If it was 4 words, I would have to be even more careful. If I was going after like Nashville, Tennessee eyelash extensions, and this was my main keyword I wanted, I'd have to be very, very careful here. It would take even more of stuff like this and branded anchor text to kind of make sure I stay below that optimization fold. Okay, so as we talked about in the last video, the longer your domain name is, or the longer the keyword is, as far as an EMD goes, the more careful you have to be. And the same thing with an inner URL. If it's an exact match keyword for your inner URL, if it was like lashsite.com/Nashville, Tennessee eyelash extensions, you would still have to be very careful if you were targeting this location for this keyword, because inner URLs, remember, we talked about the evolution of anchor text and URL combinations and over optimization. Inner URLs are getting hit with over optimization now, whereas before they weren't really. Now, it's not as likely to get hit as this being the EMD. Again, we talked about this in the last video. This isn't as likely to get hit as this one for over optimization. Like, you'll have a little more wiggle room here, but the point is that inner URLs can now still get hit if it's an exact match keyword. All right, you still have to be careful here, just not as careful you do if it's an EMD. All right. So hopefully you all enjoyed this lesson. The anchor text and URL combinations, when you get them right, is so powerful. You just have to think about what's in your domain name, what's in your URL. How compared to what anchor text you can use. All right, and just use these examples to go off. And of course, consider what I talked about in the first couple videos, especially, how long the keyword is. You can get away with a little more with the shorter keywords to get a ton of searches, and just all those things combine to your overall optimization. All right. So again, hopefully you enjoyed this video, and I will see you all soon. And of course, in our coaching, in the OMG Machines coaching, I track all these changes, and I always update, when there's little changes that go on with Google. I always update our community as to, this is now what's going on. For example, in the last video I talked about, we had a site that was like HoustonSEO.org, Houston web design. I saw through my data that they got more strict on over optimization, and when I 301 this over from this to this, our rankings came back up. That's when I knew, okay, you got to be more careful about repeating keywords in your domain, in your inner URL. And that's the type of information that I release to our community, when these little optimization changes come, as to what you need to be more careful about. So, I cover all those updates for our OMG Machines coaching members. If you want to stay on top of them, you can check us out. But again, hopefully you enjoyed all of this and you really learned a lot from these videos, because again, anchor text and URL combinations are just huge to ranking. It's the main thing I focus on, the main thing I track, and again, I pretty much rank for what I want still. All right. So again, hope you enjoyed. See y'all soon.
Hey guys, this is SEO Floyd again. So the PBN setup section of the course covers starting with fresh PBNs, but no doubt some of you already have a site or sites, and you're probably wondering, well, what the hell do I do now? So that's what this section is for. This is going to be really short, but here's a couple of things that you want to absolutely make sure that you check. So number one, you want to make sure that your whois record is not going to pull up all of your sites. So if you went in and registered all of your sites, then they are all going to have the same whois record, right, when we do a search. So we don't want to do that. So we need to make sure that all of our sites, we come in here to cPanel, okay, we make sure that we update the contact info, all right? You're going to go in here and just put in the persona, right, that we created, and you can create personas for existing sites if you don't have one, okay? So you want to change this. This is number one. The other thing that you're going to want to do is you're going to want to make sure that your SOA, or start of authority record, does not reflect something you don't want it to reflect. So let me show you how to change that real quickly. So I've logged into one of my hosting accounts, okay, and I'm going to go here to manage DNS. All right, so I'm going to pull this up, and inside here we're going to see SOA parameters, okay? So what we're going to want to do in here, we're going to hit modify record, right? And we're just going to change it to our persona, okay? So that is going to make sure that somebody doesn't come along, mainly Google, but also other SEOs can use this information to find your networks and to mess with you. So, you know, as an example, this site that I have, and this is one of my throwaway sites, so don't mess with it or anything. Well, you know what? I don't care. If you want to mess with my site, mess with my site. It doesn't matter. I'm going to go to a site here called Into DNS. All right. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to put in the site, and I'm going to hit report. All right. And what it's going to do, it's going to give me a lot of information, which is cool. What I want you to do is scroll down about halfway, okay? And what you're looking for right here is the SOA record part, okay? And right here it says host master email address. Now see here it says cpanel.webhost. Now this is because of this particular host. They do this on all of theirs, okay? But for a lot of the places, you're going to see that this information is going to be reflected, you know, what you put in. So you want to make sure that you change your whois. You want to make sure you change your DNS SOA record. So this is not going to happen to you. And also, if someone does a whois lookup, that they're not going to find your email address, which they can then use to find all your other sites. Okay, so that's just a couple of things that I wanted to update in case you already had sites. And so again, I want to thank you for watching the training. I hope you're getting a lot of value out of it, and I will see you guys around. Hey guys, this is SEO Floyd, and welcome to section 2 of the PBN Safe setup. So part 1, we went through getting a domain and getting some hosting. So at the very end of part 1, you should have gone into your domain account and set up the name servers to point to your hosting account. So now the next step is going to be to install your website and begin configuration. So I am logged into cPanel, which is going to be on your hosting account. So you're going to log into the back, and you're typically going to click on your domain, the name of your domain, or on cPanel or control panel. It's going to look like different things in different places. But either way, you're going to be able to get to cPanel, and there are several different versions of cPanel, but yours should look somewhat similar to this. So what we're going to do, there are several choices that you can make as to what kind of website you'd like to have. The most common one that we use today for SEO purposes is WordPress, and that's the one that I'm actually going to teach in this section of the course. But I want you to be aware that there are other content management systems that you can use also. They work very similar to WordPress, and it's actually a very good idea to not put all your eggs in one basket. So I highly suggest that while having WordPress sites is great, and that even the majority of your network probably will be on WordPress, that you should definitely have some sites using some other content management systems. So in cPanel, you have a wide variety of choices. So for instance, Joomla is one choice that you can make. Joomla works very similar to WordPress. You'll click on this, go through the installer. It will set up a website for you that you will then configure with content. Another choice is Drupal. Okay, Drupal is also another content management system. Okay, as you go through the cPanel, you're going to find out that there are a ton of different choices that you can make. I actually like to use Moodle, which is meant to teach courses, like if you are a school or a college professor. But it's actually very simple to set up a website using Moodle, and if the theme of your site is education or academics, then this makes a great choice because that's what a lot of people that have education websites use. Another thing that you can set up is also wikis. Wikis are great. Probably most of you guys are familiar with wikis, so you probably already know what those are. But the point of all this is to tell you that as you go through, the cPanel alone is going to have a bunch of different choices for you, okay? So don't think that your only choice is WordPress. And again, I highly suggest that you mix it up a little bit, okay? But as I stated earlier, for the purposes of this demonstration, I'm going to go ahead and do WordPress. So I'm in the cPanel, and you will probably have something that looks very similar to this. And Softaculous or Fantastico is typically what it's going to say in here. So what you're looking for in here is either Softaculous or Fantastico. It may have both. So I'm going to go here and I'm going to choose WordPress. And I'm going to then choose Install. Okay, after you choose Install, you're going to be taken to the back-end setup. All the options in here should be fairly straightforward for you to go through. You're going to in here where it says site name, you're going to give it a nice site name, that's appropriate for the site. Site description the same way. Admin username, if you notice, I'm using my persona here. And then password, again, I'm just going to make that consistent. All right. So I'm going to go through here. At this point, I can select a theme or I can hit install, and I am going to do that in the next step. So I'm just going to go ahead and hit install. Once I do that, it is going to go ahead and set up WordPress for me with the default 2014 WordPress theme installed. Okay, so once I hit that, I'm going to give it a couple of minutes, and then typically the site is going to be live. So after a few minutes, you should be able to go to your site. Now it's not going to look like this. It's going to have the default 2014 WordPress theme, but then we are going to start customizing. Okay, so once we go back to our site, there's a few things that we're going to do. Okay, so the next thing that we're going to do is we are going to choose a theme for our site. So in appearance, we're going to go to themes, and then we are going to choose add new, and then we're going to go here to feature filter. All right, so all of your sites do not need to be laid out the exact same way. All right, so make sure that you vary this a little bit. But one of the things a couple of things that we do want to look for, I do like sticky post because that means that I can make one post and it can stay on the home page. I do like front page posting. There's a couple of different things you can choose in here. Also the columns, typically the more simple the better. So for this one, I'm just going to choose a one column theme, and I'm going to do one that I'm going to choose sticky post. Okay, so I'm going to apply these filters, and WordPress is going to go out and look for some themes for me. Okay, so what I'm looking for, the most important thing is I need to make sure that my theme is going to allow me to have links on the home page. So as you look through the screen here, you can see some links live in some of these, like this one, for instance. If you look here, it's going to allow, you see it allows links on the front page. So this one would be a good choice for us to use, okay? A good basic one. So if I chose this one, I would click install, all right? And then that would put it on there for me, all right? This theme is already installed here, so I'm not going to do that. But just make sure that you get a nice, simple, clean theme that allows you to have post links on the home page. Now, another option that you can choose that I highly suggest is while using free themes is a really good part of your strategy, you probably will want to get purchase some premium themes also. So you can make some sites that have some more features and look a little bit better. There's a couple of ways you can go for that. There's Ink Themes. There's Elegant Themes. Okay, those are two different companies. Those are both companies that allow you to pay a one-time fee or an annual fee, and then you're going to have access to dozens or more of different premium themes. Okay, And the good thing about that is, one thing about WordPress is each theme kind of works a little bit differently. So if you make a subscription to something like Ink Themes or Elegant Themes, then you can learn kind of how their themes work. Okay, so again, don't make your entire blog network full of just elegant themes or just ink themes. All right, but having them as part of your strategy is good. So again, to kind of reiterate at this point, if we've got 20 sites in our network, it's a good idea that we have, a couple of, one or more maybe Joomla sites, one or more Drupal sites, maybe a wiki site, okay, some other CMS besides WordPress. All right, 3, 4, 5 out of the 20 at least should be not WordPress. And then out of the remaining that are WordPress, make 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 of them free themes, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. And then you can fill the rest with ink themes or elegant themes or things like that. Okay, the key here, as far as not getting caught by Google, is to mix things up. All right, you don't want to leave what we call a footprint, meaning that there's an easy pattern for Google to find. So like using the same theme every time is a pattern for Google to find. Okay, so that's what we're trying to avoid. So once we have a nice theme picked out, then we are going to go through and we are going to adjust some settings. Okay, after you choose install, you're going to be taken to the backend setup. All the options in here should be fairly straightforward for you to go through. You're going to, in here where it says site name, you're going to give it a nice site name, that's appropriate for the site. Site description the same way. Admin username, if you notice, I'm using my persona here. And then password, again, I'm just going to make that consistent. All right. So I'm going to go through here. At this point, I can select a theme or I can hit install, and I am going to do that in the next step. So I'm just going to go ahead and hit install. Once I do that, it is going to go ahead and set up WordPress for me with the default 2014 WordPress theme installed. Okay, so once I hit that, I'm going to give it a couple of minutes, and then typically the site is going to be live. So after a few minutes, you should be able to go to your site. Now it's not going to look like this. It's going to have the default 2014 WordPress theme. But then we are going to start customizing. Okay, so once we go back to our site, there's a few things that we're going to do. Okay, so the next thing that we're going to do is we are going to choose a theme for our site. So in appearance, we're going to go to themes, and then we are going to choose add new, and then we're going to go here to feature filter. All right, so all of your sites do not need to be laid out the exact same way. All right, so make sure that you vary this a little bit. But one of the things that, a couple of things that we do want to look for, I do like sticky post, because that means that I can make one post and it can stay on the home page. I do like front page posting. There's a couple of different things you can choose in here. Also the columns, typically the more simple the better. So for this one, I'm just going to choose a one column theme, and I'm going to do one that I'm going to choose sticky post. Okay, so I'm going to apply these filters, and WordPress is going to go out and look for some themes for me. Okay, so what I'm looking for, the most important thing is I need to make sure that my theme is going to allow me to have links on the home page. So as you look through the screen here, you can see some links live in some of these, like this one, for instance. If you look here, it's going to allow, you see it allows links on the front page. So this one would be a good choice for us to use, okay? A good basic one. So if I chose this one, I would click install, all right? And then that would put it on there for me, all right? This theme is already installed here, so I'm not going to do that. But just make sure that you get a nice, simple, clean theme that allows you to have post links on the home page. Now, another option that you can choose that I highly suggest is, while using free themes is a really good part of your strategy, you probably will want to get purchase some premium themes also. So you can make some sites that have some more features and look a little bit better. There's a couple of ways you can go for that. There's ink themes, There's Elegant Themes. Okay, those are two different companies. Those are both companies that allow you to pay a one-time fee or an annual fee, and then you're going to have access to dozens or more of different premium themes. Okay, and the good thing about that is one thing about WordPress is each theme kind of works a little bit differently. So if you make a subscription to something like Ink Themes or Elegant Themes, then you can learn kind of how their themes work. Okay, so again, don't make your entire blog network full of just Elegant Themes or just Ink Themes, all right? But having them as part of your strategy is good. So again, to kind of reiterate at this point, if we've got 20 sites in our network, it's a good idea that we have, a couple of, one or more maybe Joomla sites, one or more Drupal sites, maybe a wiki site, okay? Some other CMS besides WordPress, all right? 3, 4, 5 out of the 20 at least should be not WordPress. And then out of the remaining that are WordPress, make 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 of them free themes, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. And then you can fill the rest with Ink Themes or Elegant Themes or things like that, okay? The key here, as far as not getting caught by Google, is to mix things up, all right? You don't want to leave what we call a footprint, meaning that there's an easy pattern for Google to find. So like using the same theme every time is a pattern for Google to find, okay? So that's what we're trying to avoid. So once we have a nice theme picked out, then we are going to go through and we are going to adjust some settings. Hey guys, so in this section what we're going to do is we are going to change some settings in WordPress just to make your sites, your network sites, a little bit better for you. Okay, so we're going to go through a couple of sections here really fast. So the first place we're going to go is to settings in general. And we want to make sure in here that we have a nice site title, a nice tagline. Okay. The next place that we're going to go is to reading. And in here you're going to choose whether or not you want to use posts or you want to use pages. There's reasons to do either, so it's really your personal preference which one you choose. But either way, blog pages show at most X number of posts. So you want to make sure if you're using posts that this is set to the correct number so all your articles with links are going to show. Also in here, you want to make sure that full text is chosen, okay? Because otherwise you're going to get the little read more box, which means that your link in most cases is not going to be displayed, okay? So the next section that we're going to go to is discussion. And since these are network sites, we don't want discussion on them, okay? So we're going to go through and we are going to want to put comment must be manually approved, okay? So we want to check that box, okay? And that's going to make it where there's going to be a huge queue. If it becomes an issue, then you can put something on there to to fight the spam. It's normally not an issue on network sites, but if it is, there's Akismet and there's other plugins that you can do to combat that. Okay, so the next thing that we're going to do is we want to go down here to permalinks. And for most of your sites, what you're going to want is post name, okay? So if you write an article and it's, the top 5 ways to sell something, right? Maybe it's a sales site. Then, what you'd like is yourdomain.com / the name of the article, okay? So that's what you're going to want in most cases. And so make sure that's set. If it's not, go ahead and hit Save Changes down here, okay? The next thing that we're going to do, a lot of the themes, if they're free themes, they are going to have links in a footer. And so we don't need that link juice going out from our site. So what we're going to do is we're going to come over here to Appearance, and then we're going to go down to Editor. And then we're going to come across here to Footer. And this theme doesn't have that in there, but if it did, you would see a hyperlink in here, okay? And so if you see a hyperlink in here, you can just delete out the link, or you can just delete out all of this text altogether and then hit Update File, okay? And then it's going to remove the footer. Now, if you have a hacked theme, when you do this, it may kill the theme, okay? So, use real themes, guys. Either buy them, or if you're using the, quote, free ones for WordPress, usually you're pretty good. You're only going to run into issues if you're trying to use hacked themes. So I definitely would not suggest that. On this section, the only other thing that I want to make sure that y'all know about, we're going to go in here to customize, and there's lots of settings in here, but this under here is going to say what is on the front page, whether it's posts or a page. So you want to make sure that this is set up the way that you want it. If you're using posts, obviously, then it's going to be like right here, your latest post. If you'd like to go with a static page, then obviously you're going to choose a static page. Okay, so just make sure that's in there. There's multiple places in WordPress, depending on your theme, that do the same thing. So you want to make sure that if something's not working, that you look in kind of a couple of places, okay? Because individual themes are going to have different settings, but the things I just went through with you should be universal regardless of which WordPress theme you're using, okay? And so the last thing that I want to show you here, and this is going to be related to later, is that you want to make sure that you set up categories and tags, okay? And so as you look here, you're going to see like some of my categories: advertising agencies, branding strategy, sales and marketing, okay? This is going to be important for the theming of your site. We're going to talk more about that in another video, but you want to make sure that when you're building these sites that these are not just colossal generic sites, okay? You want to make sure that they're themed. You want to make sure that there's some logical categories here, okay? So if you're not familiar with WordPress, when you make a new post, it's going to allow you to choose a category. And if you choose that category, then all of the posts that you make will not only appear on their own page, but they'll also appear on the category page for the category, okay? And this is a very natural kind of thing that WordPress does. And so you want to make sure that you have, I have 3 on this site. I would tell you that 3 would be a minimum, okay? If you have a logical niche, then you probably have more like 5 to 6, okay? But 3 is a minimum, all right? And we're going to work more with this later. Okay, so that is it for the back-end stuff. The next section we will be talking about plugins. Hey guys, okay, so the next thing that we're going to talk about is plugins. If you're not familiar with WordPress, a plugin is simply an add-on to WordPress. It is a piece of software that allows you to do something more than the basic WordPress. Some plugins are free, a lot of them are, and some of them have a cost associated with them. So let me show the ones that I'm going to want you to use on most of your sites. Now, you do need to vary things up, okay? Don't have the exact same plugins on every site. For pretty much every plugin that I show you today, there are alternative plugins, okay? And then there's also ways that you can do it without using plugins, and we'll talk about that in a few minutes as well. So the first one that I'd like to add is going to be an SEO quote plugin, all right? You have several choices for that. There's all-in-one SEO, there's Yoast SEO, there's also probably a dozen more that are just as good, okay? So I'm not promoting this particular one. It's just the one I want to show you today. So the one I chose is all-in-one SEO. And in case you're not familiar with WordPress, you're going to start off by going to plugins, and then you're going to click on add new, and then this little handy dandy search engine window is going to appear here, okay? And so all of the plugins that we do today, all of them can be found by looking in search plugins, all right? So let's go back to all-in-one. We're going to go to general settings. All right, so a couple of things that we want to absolutely make sure that canonical URLs is checked, and that simply means that site pages are going to be forwarded properly. I'm going to go down here. I also want to make sure that in this section under the title settings, the default for this is going to be that pages and posts, if you see here, it's going to be page title and blog title. So that means that if the page, you call it Dallas SEO, okay, if that's the name of the page, but the name of the blog is Dallas SEO blog, then that means it's going to show Dallas SEO and then Dallas SEO blog, okay? So you typically don't want that, all right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in here and I am going to just take out this little % here, okay? So what that's going to do is your page titles are going to be your page titles, all right? So if you write a page and it's called About Us, then when you look in your browser, the page is simply going to be called About Us. It's not going to be About Us and then the name of your blog, okay? I'm going to do the same thing on posts, okay? I don't want that in posts either, all right? So simply remove that out, okay? So now my posts additionally are just going to be the name of the post, all right? So I'm going to go back down here a little ways, and I want to make sure that use no index for categories and tags as well, okay? So what's going to happen if you don't use this is that if you write a post and you tag that post with a certain tag or a certain category, then what's going to happen is that you actually can have the same page competing with another page on your site. Okay, so you don't want that. There's different strategies where you may want to leave this alone, but for a PBN site, we don't want there to be any confusion about which page is about what. Okay, so we'll leave this like it is. The rest of the settings in here are good, so when we're done, we're just going to hit update options. Okay, so the next one that I want to cover is going to be called Theme Authenticity Checker. All right. And Theme Authenticity Checker is a free WordPress plugin, and you're going to want to use this on your quote free themes that you get. Okay, and so I'm going to go in here after you've installed it, and again, you're going to find it just like you did, the other ones. I'm sorry, it's in Appearance. So under Appearance, you're going to go here to TAC, Theme Authenticity Checker. Okay, and it's going to check out your themes for you. Okay, and what it's looking for is mainly it's looking for malware, but also it can find hidden links and things like that. Okay, so this is highly, highly, highly recommended if you are using free themes, especially if they're not provided by like WordPress. I mean, if you're using 2014 theme provided by WordPress, you don't need to use Theme Authenticity Checker. Okay, but if you just find some random theme on some random site, then you definitely want to do this. Okay, and it's just going to make sure that your site is safe. A lot of people will provide quote free themes and they've got links in them or they've got malware and other things. So this is a quick and easy way to make sure that you're good. Now once this is done, you can take this off. Okay, so if you found the theme you want and you're positive, throw this on, check it, and then you can remove it. Okay, there's not a whole lot of overhead, but there's no reason to keep things we don't need. All right, so the next one we're going to use is going to be Link Juice Keeper. All right, and I'm not going to go through the setup of that, but again, when you go to plugins, you're just going to type in Link Juice Keeper, and what that's going to do is it's going to make sure that any links that come to your site that are find a 404 page, meaning that let's say that someone linked to a specific article on the site before you bought it, and that article no longer exists. What Link Juice Keeper is going to do is it's going to take that link and it's going to point it to your homepage. Okay, so all it's doing is just making sure that the link juice that you want is coming to the right place. All right, so that's an easy one. Get that on there. The next one we're going to talk about is related posts. Now again, there's multiple things that we can do with this. Okay, there's multiple different ones. One that I like to use a lot is SEO Smart Links. Okay, and so what it's going to do, you need to set this up. And you need to set up in here, you want to make sure that max links is low, 1 to 3. Okay, you want to make sure also that you want to use categories and maybe tags. Okay, so and this definitely want to put this as 1. The rest of the settings for this are default, so you're good. Okay, so I'm going to go over kind of what this does in a minute. But just throw this in and kind of do those tweaks I just showed you. All right, so the last one I want to cover is a Spider Spanker plugin. It's a very popular plugin, and what it does is it is going to hide your PBN site from all of the spiders and bots that backlink aggregators use, like Majestic SEO and Moz. Okay, so the reason that we're doing this is so our competitors cannot see our sites, cannot see our backlinks. Okay, so we could have a much longer conversation about that, but basically, you want to use a plugin like Spider Spanker. You can also use different files like htaccess to block these spiders. But basically, your site, once it's up, there's going to be all of these bots and spiders that come to your site. And if you do not block them, then number one, they will take away system resources, which means that if you're using cheap hosting, your account can actually get banned. And number two, it means that if another SEO is looking at your money site, he may be able to see your private blog sites. And if so, then he could, report you to Google, and things like that. So you definitely want to use something to do that. So either like an htaccess file, which is something you do by hand, or a great software like Spider Spanker. Okay, so the setup and configuration for Spider Spanker, the maker of that, Todd, does a great job on his site with FAQs and stuff, so I'm not going to cover that. Okay, The last one that I want to talk about today is a simple XML sitemap. Okay, and whichever one you use, it doesn't really matter. There's several ones. Okay, you just want to make sure you want to have one on there. Okay, you want to make sure that Google knows about it. When you update your settings and update your site. Okay, this is going to help you get indexed. So as far as the back end goes, as far as plugins go, the main thing is that you want to just mix things up. Okay, like I told you, any plugin that I just showed you, there is an alternative plugin or there's an alternative method. So don't have all your sites do the same exact thing. Okay, mix it up and keep it safe. If you're not using WordPress, there will be similar applications like this for the other content management systems we talked about, like Joomla and Drupal and stuff like that. Okay, you'll see on here I also have select sociable plugin. I like to have social plugins on all of my network sites. You can experiment and find which ones you like, but again, when we go over the live site in the next video, we'll talk about some of these things. Okay, so as far as the plugins go, that's going to be it, and I will see you in the next training. Hey guys, okay, so we have set up the back end, and so now I want to show you some things kind of on the front end. All right, so one of the keys to keeping your PBN site safe is to mimic what real sites do, okay, or mimic what natural sites do. All right, and so some of the things I'm going to suggest to you are some customization options that you can have done fairly cheaply online in places like Fiverr. Okay, so let me go over a couple of these things. So my comp site again, this lindemanrcc.com, you see a nice custom header here. Okay, this is a nice custom WordPress header. You can get this on Fiverr for $5. Okay, if you have any skills at all with Photoshop, you can also make one of these fairly quickly. All right, so this is something that's real nice, and this is something that real sites do. Okay, don't make some ugly blog looking thing and expect it to do well. All right, so this is a thing. Now as we scroll down here, we're gonna see that we've got our nice category pages here. Okay, got a nice looking little menu here. All right, got our posts on the front page. Okay, and as you load down here, we've also got our legal pages. Okay, and this is something that you want to make sure that you have. All right, you need to have about us, you need to have contact us. All right, you need to have these terms and conditions, privacy policy. All right, you need to have these. All right, so you can either go online and Google, like privacy policy, terms and conditions, disclaimer, and then just use what they're using. Just do a find and replace in Word and put your the name of your business in. Or there's also some plugins that you can use to generate these pages. Okay, it doesn't really matter if there's duplicate content on those pages, because Google's already said that they're not looking for that on pages like terms and conditions and privacy policy. Okay, because that's just something kind of standard that we all use. All right, so those pages are not going to be looked at for that. All right, so again, I'm not saying that this site is going to win any awards for design. Okay, that's not what we're shooting for. What we're shooting for is real. All right, so if you were to come across this site, you would probably think that this is a real site, run by a real person. All right, and that's what we're going for. So I've got some widgets on here. All right, and widgets are things that you can set up in WordPress. All right, so like there is a calendar widget, and it's very easy to set that up. That's beyond the scope of this training, but you can find that in 10 seconds with a quick search on Google. Widget setup. Also, here's a map widget. All right. Another thing I like to do on my sites is to have an RSS feed. Okay, and again, this is just a widget. All right, so it's super simple to set these things up. But what they're going to do is they're just going to add a lot of authenticity to the site. Okay, and so as you go to each page, so let's go to the first page here. All right, so this is the first article. All right, and so what I want you to notice here, you see where it says advertising agencies. Do you see how that's linked in, but it's linked back to another page on the site? Okay, this is that plugin, that SEO related post plugin. All right, and what this does is it's very natural for inner pages of a site to go back to the home page of the site. Okay, and that is a trust factor and a ranking factor. It actually will help the link juice flow through your site. Okay, so that's what that plugin does. It puts these links through here. All right, so let me go back to the home page. What I have done also, as you look across some images, if you highlight across this image, you'll see that I've linked out to a site called presstalent.com, and that's just because it's a site that's related to this niche. And the way that I've done that is by simply alt tagging this image. Okay, so when you're in WordPress and you pull open this image, there's going to be a little control panel that opens up in the details, and it's going to allow you to put what you would like for this to be called. Okay, and so I leave it blank, but this is a link. All right, so you can use this for one of two things. These image links can be links to your site, your money site, right? The ones we're trying to rank for, and they work great. Okay, they also can be part of your outbound authority links. Okay, so part of what we're going to do on our pages is we want Google to think that, you know, we are related to other blogs, other websites that are in the same niche that we are. So this is a website about marketing, okay? And so we are going to link out to authority sites in here that have to do with marketing. Now, more or less as a joke here, on this page, on the home page, let me go back. Let me go back to the home page real quick. More or less as a joke, I linked out to Google AdWords here. Okay, don't link out to Google AdWords. All right, this page is no indexed. All right, so it's no one's ever gonna see this except you guys. But what you're gonna want to do is you're gonna want to find other high authority sites in the niche and link out to them logically. Okay, so you can simply go to Google and you can type in, you know, your niche. And see who's on the front page. All right, you can link out to Wikipedia, which is what a lot of people like to do. You can link out to news sites. Okay, just look and see who's on the front page. You know, so for this, you know, this is a marketing site. So, you know, I'm going to type in marketing. All right, and let's see what we find. Wow, shocker, a Wikipedia article. There's entrepreneur.com. Okay, Forbes, the AMA, right? Okay, so we see all these, you know, Entrepreneur again, New York Times, Marketing Profs, marketing.org. Okay, these are all great places to outbound link to. And you know that Google loves them as relevant for this keyword because they're on page 1. Okay, so that's how you're going to find your outbound authority links. Okay, so again, your links can be actual links, contextual links here, or they can be image links, all right, like the one here. Okay, so as far as linking out, you know, there's different strategies that you can employ, you know, but typically you're going to want to have, you know, normally no more than about 3 from one site going back to your money site. Okay, so a good strategy to use would be to have, you know, one link going to from this page to the home page of the money site that you're trying to rank, and then maybe you know, an image link, and then maybe another link going to an inner page on the site that you're trying to rank. Okay, so again, there's lots of strategies for that. Feel free to ask in the Facebook group about the various things about this. But again, just remember, we're trying to keep it real. Okay, we're trying to keep it real. Oh, one last thing. When I go in here, so I'm going to go to this post. You'll see these social sharing things here. Okay. Again, this is a trust factor. This is really good. You know, this is kind of something that Google wants to see. Okay, when you go over here to the, you know, basically the contact us page, right? I have an actual contact form. Okay, and remember, you know, when we set up these this persona, we want it to be consistent across all that we do. So remember, you know, this persona we have is you know, associated with this domain. So let's go ahead on the About Us page or the Contact Us page, whichever one. Let's go ahead and make sure that it's there. Okay, so you know, Google, if it goes and it looks up the who is information for the website who registered it, they're going to see Robert Bonner. If they figure out who is hosting it, it's Robert Bonner. The WordPress author account, guess what? Again, it's Robert Bonner. And if we go to the contact forms, once again, Robert Bonner. Okay, these things are all consistent. This is a huge trust factor, and this is going to help keep this site safe. Okay, and so that's it, guys, for this part. So, you know, just remember, try to do what real sites do. Try to look good. Spend a little bit of money. You know, this header here you can have done for $5 on Fiverr. Okay, so it's not a lot of cost, you know, to have some extra stuff done. All right, so that's it for this section. Thank you for your time. All right, guys. So in the last section, I talked about some things. I talked about alt tagging some images, and I talked about some widgets. And I thought about it again, and I thought, you know what, you guys, some of you are probably not going to know how to do that. So instead of making you run out to Google and search, I'm just going to go ahead and show you real quick. All right. So the first one I'm going to do for widgets, I'm going to go across to Appearance, and then I'm going to go to Widgets. All right, and the widgets are going to be all over here, okay? And there's all different ones you can choose from, okay? And they're based on the theme, all right? And what you're going to do is basically the ones that you want to use are going to drag over here, okay? So you have the primary and then the footer, okay? Different themes are going to have different ones, all right? But for example, when you look at this theme, if you look over here at the primary widget, I'm sorry, the sidebar login, right? Here's the sharing one, right? You literally just put the content in here and click save, okay? And so that's pretty easy. Now, on this site, mostly what I was talking about was the secondary widget area, which you see I have a calendar, I have a Google Maps, and I have an RSS, okay? So this calendar here is, and I have to give it a name and then hit save, okay? But when I drag the Google Calendar widget over here onto this, all I have to do is put in the name and hit save, and then I'm going to have that nice calendar like I showed you on the home page. Same thing with the Google Maps widget. All I had to do was find it over here, drag it over here, and drop it. When I do, it's going to ask for an address. And of course, you know, this address is where my persona is at, right? This is the actual place, okay? And again, all you're going to do is hit save, okay? And then the last one, an RSS. In case you're not familiar with what an RSS is basically like a feed of posts from another site, okay? So what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to go find a very large site that's relevant. You can use one of the sites that you linked out to in the authority linking, and then you're going to subscribe to their RSS feed, okay? So at the very top of the page, you know, typically they're going to have something, and it's going to give you the feed. So I tell you what, let me just go ahead and do that really quick. So you can see that, and that is going to be, let's go to here, let's go to marketing. All right, and let's see, let's do entrepreneur. So when I go to entrepreneur, all right, so you see they've got lots of cool stuff in here, right? And a lot of this is related to marketing, okay? So all we need to do here is go through and find the feed. And when we look down here, you'll see how it says RSS, right? All right, all you need to do, click on the RSS, all right? And then you will just copy this, okay? And you'll copy this, and then when we go back to our site, you're going to paste it right in here, okay? And then you're going to hit save, all right? And then what that's going to do, you know, like we talked about, is it's going to have that nice feed of relative content going to your site, okay? So that is how you add a widget. All right, so in an RSS feed. Okay, guys, so we covered widgets, and now we're going to do, the other thing I mentioned was alt text images, okay? So again, you can use images for links, all right? So I'm going to go over here to post, all posts. I'm going to choose this post here, which is the sticky. All right, so now you see this image here. All right, when I click on it once, I'm going to get the little edit icon here, okay? I'm going to click on that. And now this is going to allow me to edit this image, all right? So here where it says alternative text, this is what the image is going to say, right? So this would be your anchor text link, okay? So you could make it say your money keywords, you could make it say a related keyword term, or you could just leave it blank, okay? Depends on how you're using this particular link. All right, so you're going to fill out what you would like in here, and then you're going to go where it says link to, all right, and then when you choose custom URL, you're going to put wherever you want it to link to, okay? So this will be to your money site, all right? And so once you do that and you hit update, then you will have another link going to your money site. Okay, so that was pretty quick, and I just wanted to go ahead and do that for you guys because I know that we have some beginners probably in here, so I didn't want you to have to go outside and look for this information. All right, so thank you again. The next portion that we move on to is going to be stuff after our site is live. All right, so we'll see you in the next video. Okay, guys, now we have our site set up all the way. And it's ready to go. So then this section, what I'm going to go over is just a couple of strategies that you can use to add a little bit of power to your PBN sites. Okay, remember that the power of your PBN site really is based on the backlinks that are coming to it. So that's why picking the right domain is so important. You already want to have a site that has some decent power so it can flow through to your money sites. All right, but here's a couple of little tweaks I want to show you real fast just to add a little bit onto that. All right, just so you can get a little bit more value. So one quick easy technique that you can use is to go ahead and build upon the links that are already coming to the site. Okay, so that's a good way to start off. All right, so I'm going to open up this site in Majestic SEO, and when I do, I'm going to go to the backlinks section here. Okay, and this is going to show me some backlinks. All right, and so like this one has some pretty decent ones. All right, and these are set up by TrustFlow, you know, 39, 30, 27. You know, pretty good, right? Some of these, well, some of them suck. All right, so what we're going to do is, so I'll use these two as an example, right? These two are pretty good, and so what we want to do is we want to build some backlinks to these, all right? And so that link juice will flow through to our site, all right? So it's a really easy way to do it. I'm not going to go into the specific techniques of how to do it. You can use whatever you'd like. For that, you know, basically safe links, right? I'm not talking about just hitting it with some spam tool, you know, but your, you know, your Web 2.0 links, your wiki links, you know, stuff like that, you know, if done right, you can shoot them to this site, you know, and the link juice can flow through to your site. All right, so that's an easy way to do that. That's one technique that you can use. Another technique that you can use that I like is to do some blog commenting. Okay, and this is manual blog commenting. All right. So, you know, remember we've set up our persona here, right? So we've got Mr. Bonner here, okay? So he's already logged in, okay? And so what I'm going to do for this is I'm going to go to a website called dropmylink.com. And what this does is this basically just takes advanced Google search operators and it puts it into a handy dandy drop down box. Okay, so you can do this by hand if you want to mess with typing in things like in URL : in parentheses blah 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 blah, right? Or you can simply go here. Okay, so we will go and we're gonna find, so we're looking for marketing. All right, so let's type in marketing. And there's lots of choices in here that you can choose. You see edu blogs, government blogs, okay. There's a lot of great ones in here. The only one I would kind of avoid right now is Skidoo lenses because they're pretty much dead. Hub Pages bought them. So one of the ones that I really like to use is intense debate blogs. All right. So I'm going to put in marketing, or I could put in sales or advertising or anything related to my man and my site, right? All right, I'm going to hit search. Now I have the Google Quake plugin installed. Okay. And so you know, this is, you're going to see some settings here. All right, I'm sorry, not Google Quake, SEO Quake. All right, it's a plugin you can get. I'm pretty sure it works in every browser. All right, so what's going to happen is it's going to show you some stats here. Okay, so like this site is PR0, this site's PR3. Okay, before anybody starts clobbering me, another 3. Before anyone starts clobbering me about PR, it's an easy way to look at some authority. Okay. And so for purposes of this demonstration, I'm just going to use PR. All right. So I'm looking here at a site called widerfunnel.com. And let's see. I'm going to go here and just kind of see what we find. So, you know, we have a PR3 website with a little over 1,000 indexed pages. All right. Looks pretty good. And it looks like we've got a nice debate going on here about responsive design. Okay. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to look through here. And I'm going to look through this article. All right, I'm going to actually read it, right? And then when I'm done, I'm going to make an intelligent comment on here, okay? So I'm not just going to, you know, put some dumb comment like great article, okay? because if it's moderated, it's going to get, banned. All right, it's going to get killed, the comment. So what I'm going to do here, as you see here, there's already 11 comments. And so, I'm going to go to the bottom here, post a new comment. All right, one thing I want you to notice, guys, I'm already logged in, right, through WordPress. So it already sees me, Robert Bonner 15, all right? So I'm already logged in. If I was not logged in, then I'd want to get logged in, okay, before I can make this. All right, so I'm going to go down here, and I'm going to type, in an intelligent comment about something. I'm not going to do it live on this call, okay, guys, but I'm going to type in an intelligent comment based upon, the article, and then I'm going to drop an anchor text link in here, okay? And that anchor text link is going to be, going back to my my PBN site, okay? So, I would use like a brand link, right? And when you post in here, you're going to have to do a code link. You can't just drop. So what you're going to need to do is you're going to need to use the actual HTML, okay? And so I don't have that handy, but you can Google that or just ask in Facebook. But it's basically, you can't just write, the comment. You're going to have to put, href, :/ in quotes, right? Okay. So if you're not sure how to do an anchor text link in HTML, again, just Google it real quick or look in the code. All right. So in here, I'm going to write out a nice comment that's related to this topic. Okay. Then I'm going to drop my link in there. Then I'm going to hit submit. Okay. And as long as my comment is related, okay, and as long as my link isn't super spammy, then what's going to happen is normally these are going to get immediately approved. So if you look here, you see this one was put in here, and there's their link, right? That's an anchor text link going, right back to their site, okay? And that's what this is going to look like for you, okay? So you can do these, you can knock out one of these about every 5 minutes probably. Go through a couple of different settings over here and drop my link. Spend an hour, or have an outsourcer do it. And build 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 of these things. All right. One thing that it'll do is it'll give some nice, more backlinks directly to your site, which is going to flow through to your real site, which is the whole point of this. But also, it's going to give some freshness to your link profile. Okay. So it could be that you bought this expired domain and it hasn't gotten any links in a while. Doing this is going to help it get some fresh links. Okay. So that's something good that you're going to want to do. All right, so there's a couple of things that you can do to start your PBN off on the right foot. So this is going to be the last video in this training. I hope that you've learned a lot. I hope that you found the training to be valuable. I will be in the Facebook group doing coaching for the course. So if any of this stuff is not clear or if you need more information, feel free to ask, and I'm sure that we will be able to help you out. But again, I'd like to thank you for your time and attention during this training, and I'll see you guys online. Hey guys, this is SEO Floyd, and I'd like to welcome you to step 1 of our safe PBN setup for Source Phoenix. So what we're going to be talking about today is the steps in order that you will take in order to set up your private blog network sites so that they will be not only effective, but that they will be safe from Google. So Google will not find your sites and kill them. I have outlined the steps for each process in this document, and I'm going to show a few of them to you on this call live. Be sure if you have any questions to refer to the Facebook group for the coaching. So step number 1 is that you will need a unique email account. There's several ways that you can get this. You can make one and just go to Yahoo or go to Gmail or wherever. If you're going to be doing this in low volume, then that would be fine. You can just register these accounts that way. If you're going to do them in bulk though, however, you're going to want to probably purchase them. There are several places you can purchase email accounts. The easiest and quickest one is going to be to simply go to Fiverr, our good buddy Fiverr.com, and in the search field type in email accounts. And when you type in email accounts, then it will bring up a bunch of different options here. And so I will 100 new email accounts in a few hours. I will provide 700 Nokia human emulated. I will manually create 10 PVA. I will create for you, UO35 real, blah, 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 okay? So there's dozens of places to buy these in here. So if you're going to do it in bulk, that's what you're going to want to do. Step one, you're going to get yourself some email accounts. When you buy these in bulk, they are going to come to you in a spreadsheet with a username and password. So that can be the basis for your tracking for this whole project. All right, so that's the step that we're going to start with, which is getting an email account. All right, the next thing that we're going to do is we are going to go to a website called fakenamegenerator.com, and we're going to use this to create a persona that is going to persist throughout the rest of our creation. So fakenamegenerator.com, it's a free site. If you'd like to do these in bulk and download them, however, you do need to do the free registration. But basically what you're going to do is you're going to go through here, these options, and you're going to choose where you would like your persona to be from. So you can choose city, state, you can choose country. So wherever your client is based or wherever your website is going to be based, you want it to match this. You want it to be, somewhat close geographically. So after you have put in your variables, it's going to spit out something that looks like this. And it's going to have a name, and it's going to have an address, it's going to have phone number, it's going to have all kinds of information in here. All right, so this is what you're going to use to start the process with. And again, if you download these, it'll be in a nice spreadsheet for you. So up to this point, we have an email address, and now we have a name, an address, a phone number, some more information that we need to create this fake person with. Okay, so those are steps 1 and 2. Be sure if you're doing this outside of the U.S. that the geography matches correctly. If you're in the U.S., it's fairly accurate. If you choose, say, Dallas, Texas, then it's typically going to give you a Dallas, Texas zip code and address, and the phone number, even the fake one, actually matches. It works 90-something% of the time. But once you get outside of the United States, there may be some issues. So if you are not operating inside the U.S., make sure that you do a visual, using Google Maps or similar to make sure that the address matches up. Okay, so that's what we want that to do. All right, so now that we have that information, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to go register a domain. And the important thing is we're going to register the domain with the email account that we've created. Okay, we want that email account to match. Hey guys, all right, so the next step in the process is going to be registering your domain. I'm not going to go through that step by step. I think that process is fairly simple, and you guys probably already know how to register a domain. But as far as the course is concerned, there are 2 basic options. You can either choose to register the domain with the fake information that you created from Fake Name Generator. That's one option. There will be several things that you'll need to verify, which is no big deal. You can verify those things. You'll verify the email, for instance. The other option is to have sort of a master account, and that's how I do most of my accounts. So I will have a GoDaddy account, and it may have 30, 40, 50 domains in it. Google does not have access to who owns that account with GoDaddy. Only GoDaddy has access to that information. What Google does have access to as a registrar is the registration information. So what I will do, I will log into my account at GoDaddy, one of my accounts, and then I will purchase the domain using that account, and then I will simply edit the contact information. So my sample site that I'm going to be showing you throughout this training, this is lindemanrcc.com. It's one of the sites that I own, and I'm using it just for this training. It serves no other purpose. So what I've done in GoDaddy, once you're logged into the back end, you'll click on domains, and then you'll click on the domain itself to get to this control panel. Okay, so this is your domain details. Once you're in here, you'll actually start on this screen, which is settings. All you'll need to do is click on the contacts, and then in this area, you're going to put the information that you created from Fake Name Generator. Okay, once that's done and you save on this to come out, it is going to send you an email wanting you to verify the email address here. Okay, so when it does that, that's fine. Go ahead and verify that. If it also thinks that something looks funny on the account, then it will also want another step of verification. In that case, it's verifying you as the account owner. You simply need to respond to that verification request, telling them that you are a GoDaddy customer, here is some of your information, and that you have registered this on behalf of a client. And that's exactly what this is for. Exactly why this exists. This is the contact information. So basically what you're telling Google is, what you're telling GoDaddy is that, this is the person, who's in charge of this account. Basically, you're just managing it for them, if that makes sense. Okay? So that's the next step in the process. The step is very similar for all of the registrars. The control panel may look different. You may have to email support if you're using one of the smaller ones to help update some of this information. But this is how it's going to look for most of them. All right, so that's step 2, registration. You're going to want to make sure that you go through all of the different steps to verify. So when you change or add or remove this information, make sure that you already have that email account open, and so you can quickly go ahead and verify the information. All right. Another option that you could use is you could use domain privacy. And domain privacy is simply where the information that normally would be displayed here is going to be hidden, and that's going to be hidden, including Google cannot see this information. If you choose to go this route, I would use a service like Namecheap to register their domain because they offer free domain privacy. If you use a service like GoDaddy, they're going to charge you for that annually. It's somewhere between $5 and $10 for that. Also, you want to make sure if you're using domain privacy that it only represents a small percentage of the sites you're using in your network. Okay, having a few of them with domain privacy is perfectly fine, looks perfectly natural. What you don't want is you don't want to have all of your sites with domain privacy. That's not going to look natural, and that's definitely going to set off a flag. Okay, so up to this point, we should have our email account, we should have our persona, and we should now own a domain, and it should be all verified and registered. So now the next step is to get us a hosting account. So back to our instruction sheet here. We're going to do the hosting very similar to the way that we did the domain registration. You're going to go to a hosting company. Again, you can choose one of the larger ones like GoDaddy or HostGator. Host9, something like that. Those are all good choices. You can choose one of those. You're going to use the information the same way like you would for the registrar. You're going to use the information that you created to set up this account. Once you do this, again, you're probably going to have to verify using the email. And again, that's perfectly fine. A second option, just like I mentioned for this training, is that you can have a master account, let's say, in 4 or 5 of the larger ones, hosting wise, and so you could then do the same process like I showed you here. It's going to look a little bit different though. So one of the things that you're going to do is you're going to need to go, once you have your hosting account, you're going to need to log into the back end. And you're going to access the cPanel, and cPanel is always yourdomain.com/cPanel. That's where you would log in, or you can log in directly through the back end of your host. Once you're inside, it's going to look something like this. There's different versions, but it'll look something like this, and usually somewhere toward the top is going to be this button here that says Update Contact Info. So you're going to update contact info. And if you used the fake information to register the account, then this information is already in here. All right. If you didn't, or if it's a hosting account you had prior, then all you need to do is go ahead and put in the fake information. Okay. And so when you pay for this account, you want to use PayPal, just like we did in GoDaddy, because the PayPal account is not public information, so it's not tied to your purchases. So when I make my domain and my hosting purchases using GoDaddy, that information is not correlated together. So it's perfectly safe to do that. Other options, if you are paranoid, would be to use disposable credit cards. Okay, that's another good option. All right, so now up to this point, You should have the email, you should have the fake persona, you should have a domain, you should have hosting. All right, so the next step that we're going to need to do is we're going to need to set up the actual website. So the next and final pre-step process is going to be that you will need to take the name server information from your hosting account and add it to your registrar account, so your domain will know where it's hosted. I will show in GoDaddy, if you're using GoDaddy for the registrar, then right in here you'll see name servers, okay? And you're going to just put these in here. If you did not use GoDaddy, your registrar should have a very similar purpose. It will say the domain, and it will say, set up name servers, name server information. And all you'll need to do is take the information that your hosting account provided and put it in here, okay? You're going to need to do that and have that point. Sometimes it's instantaneous, and sometimes it's going to take a while. But once the registrar is pointing your new domain to your new hosting account, then it will be live on the internet, and then we can go to the next step. So that is going to be it for our pre-site setup. Again, be sure if you have any questions about this setup to ask in the Facebook group. Thank you for listening, and please continue on to the next part, which is going to be on-page setup.